How long did it take you to find your voice? Or have you yet?
That's the thing, is like sometimes you have those shows like, that's my voice. And then you have another show, you're like, who am I?
I should shut up.
Who am I? I don't know who I am.
Welcome to this week's episode of Comedy on 11, the show where I talk to my comedian friends about comedy and music. I'm Thom Tran, and this week, my good friend Eddie Pence stops by. You know him from the Ralph Report with Ralph Garman and like a dozen other podcasts. Super fun episode. We talk about 80s arena rock, which we both love, raising your kids the right way, and musicals. Spoiler, neither of us likes musicals. Lots of shows coming up, including this weekend. I'm going to be in Glendale, Arizona at Stir Crazy Comedy Club May 2nd and 3rd. Also North Carolina, Virginia, a bunch of shows in LA coming up, obviously. You can go to my website, ThomTran.com, for all the details. So now, let's hit it.
So, comedy and music.
Right.
Some would say it's like Deadpool in the MCU. At first, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work.
But when you see it together, you're like, oh yeah.
You just let the thing do the thing.
And it works.
And then it works just fine.
I get it.
Comedy on 11, the show where I talk to my comedian friends about comedy and music. I'm here this week with my good friend, Eddie Pence. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming over, buddy.
Cool setup here.
Thank you. This is a new setup in the studio. So what I was doing before is I had 3 cameras.
Right.
All independently recording.
And then you had to edit everything together.
Yeah, that fucking sucked.
Pain in the ass.
I
would have done one episode.
Also, I just realized I promised myself I wouldn't curse this episode.
Oh, well, you already ruined that.
I ruined that, but I can edit that one out.
Sure.
So let's...
I won't cuss either.
Only because I've been messing with the algorithm.
Yeah.
And apparently...
They don't like cuss words?
Not as many as comedians typically drop. So I'm here with my buddy Eddie Pence. We are both comic book nerds.
Absolutely.
We are Star Wars nerds, Star Trek fans.
Yeah. Everything.
Nerdy. All genre
Geeky.
stuff.
G.I. Joe.
Yes. But also, are you a music nerd?
I'm not. It's super into. I grew up a metalhead, right? So like when I was younger, I was like Whitesnake, Def Leppard, Rush, Van Halen, AC/DC, like all like that's my wheelhouse of music I grew up with.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not as nerdy as I am with as the comic book stuff, but yeah, I'm still kind of nerdy.
But you're a music fan.
I'm a music fan. I just saw AC/DC in concert. So
how
at
was
the Rose
that?
Bowl. It's freaking insane. They put on a hell of like last year. I took Colton, my son, to his first concert, which is Pearl Jam at the Forum. Pearl Jam always puts on a great show. They're one of the best live bands there is.
Right.
But
you were at the Forum show?
Last year.
Yeah, me and Brad were there.
Oh, really? I saw so many people. You guys were there. Ian Bagg was there.
Yeah.
There was a ton of I saw so many people. It was weird. But Pearl Jam always puts on a great live show.
Yeah.
They're a great live band. But Colton, it was still but it wasn't a rock show. Pearl Jam doesn't put on a rock show.
Okay.
what
I
I'm
know what
saying?
you're talking about. Define this for me. What would you consider like a rock show?
Lights and smoke and pyro and just like a huge production.
So 80s arena rock, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's never seen that before.
Okay.
He's seen Pearl Jam, which, again, great show,
Right.
but not a rock show.
Yeah.
And then we just saw AC/DC at the Rose Bowl, and that's a rock show. There was cannons. There was fireworks.
There were cannons?
There was cannons. There was fireworks. There was the stage where you walk out halfway out into the arena, like the long stage where Angus can go down and do his little... It was just like, that's a rock show. So Colton got to see a rock show. I'm like, that's what I grew up with.
Right.
The rock show.
Which one did he dig?
AC/DC. AC/DC is his favorite band.
Okay.
Because we didn't play like crappy Wiggles music when he was an infant. He listened to hard rock out of the gate.
Which is good parenting.
Great parenting.
That is great parenting.
Great parenting, because you talk to him now. You have interesting conversations with him.
Right.
He's not buried in his phone. He's like it's like I created someone who was born in the 80s.
Yeah. Which could be good or bad.
It's great for me because he gets all my references.
Right.
Horrible for him because he's on the football team and he's trying to get the football team to play AC/DC to pump themselves up in the locker room.
Right.
And they're playing Kanye, and he can't.
Can relate.
He can't relate to it, and they don't like his music.
Okay.
And he's the outcast because he wants Thunderstruck before they run on the field.
Which is an awesome
Which is
song.
what you should have.
Yeah.
So
What Kanye song are they?
I don't know. Like, how do you get pumped up with? I don't know.
I mean,
don't know.
I guess generationally, that could make sense. But yeah.
But I created an old soul. I purposely created an old soul by giving him that music early in life.
How old is he now?
15.
I don't like that.
No.
I don't like
I don't like it either because I'm old.
Because he wasn't a thing when we met.
No,
Yeah.
he wasn't a thing when we met. So that shows you how long we've known each other.
Which is, you're one of my close comedy friends that I've known for as long as I've been out here.
Yeah.
We met at Lovitz.
Yeah, probably Lovitz.
The Lovitz Club.
That club started 2008, 9-ish, something like around there.
I think 09 because I moved out here in 08.
Okay, so
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
about a year that I lived down in the South Bay before I moved up to the Valley, and then that opened up.
Right.
And then that's where we met.
Yeah, because it's like 5 minutes from my house, so I would just go there all the time. And I was good friends with Frank Kelly, the former manager, co-owner of that club.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just connected over nerd stuff.
Yeah. As we do.
Which is awesome. How important would you say music is in your life?
Pretty important because I don't listen to podcasts. I don't.
As many podcasts as you've been
I'm
on.
on so many podcasts and I don't listen to them.
Name some of the podcasts you've been on because I believe some of our guests our listeners will know.
I've been on. I co-host the Ralph Report with Ralph Garman on the Patreon.com network. That's 5 days a week. I do another podcast with my dear friend Jen Sturger called Not Today. That's anywhere you get your podcasts. I do another podcast with my comedian friend Jerry Rocha called The Ramble. That's 3 times a week, anywhere you get your podcasts. I've been on. And anytime anyone asks me to do a podcast, I say yes because I like doing them. I just don't like listening to them.
I asked you to do this podcast, and you were like, "Yeah, I can come over Thursday," and then you told me, "Okay, yeah, I'm landing at 11:30. I can be at your house at 1." I was like, "Are you out of your gut? Are you out of your mind?"
I am. I'm out of my like I was visiting my folks on the East Coast, and I was catching like a 6:30 a.m. flight, so I could land at 11:30 because I had to record with Ralph that day.
Yeah.
Later in the afternoon, I was like, well, I'll be over here in the area,
right?
So I'll just swing over. I could do yours, then go over and record with him,
right?
And then like that was like 1:30. You asked me to come over, and I was like, I didn't even put in my head that I'm landing at 11:30. By the time I get my luggage, get home, it's gonna be 12:30, 12:45. Right. I've already been up for like 15 hours.
Yeah.
And then you kindly said, let's just do it Saturday.
Yeah, I've done the cross-country flight where they're like, hey, the show is at 5 p.m. and you land at 1. You'll have plenty of time. Yeah, until I kill someone and then I have to,
But that's a problem. It's like I'm such a... One, I don't ever like to turn gigs down. No matter, even if it's a free gig doing a podcast with a friend, I still consider it a gig and I don't say no.
Right.
I say yes to everything. And also, there's something, I'm just a people pleaser. So when someone asks me to do something, I'm like, yeah, I'll help you out.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that.
So you need a guest, you need content. I'm like, yeah, I'll help you out. I can kill an hour.
Also, we haven't seen each other in a while.
It's been a minute.
It's ships passing in the night because you're busy being a parent.
Yeah. And a podcaster.
Yeah, and a podcaster apparently. And I'm busy putting this 3-camera system together.
It's beautiful.
That I'm not even sure if it works.
It's lovely. I hope it's working.
I'm trying to not look at the screen.
Is the record button on?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay.
The record button is on.
But yeah, it's been a minute since we've hung out.
Yeah.
I'll see you every once in a while at Flappers or something, but yeah, it's been a minute.
So music's an important part of your life. We talked about Colton, your son, wanting to come out on the football field to AC/DC. Yeah. What do you come out to? Like, what is your go-to coming up on stage song, and what gets you amped up?
I like coming up on stage to Social Distortion. Sometimes I do.
Okay.
There's that opening guitar riff. I don't know what it is. It's just to me, it's the perfect walk-up song. Like if I was going to be a professional wrestler, that would be my entrance theme.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just something about that riff that I just love that riff just to begin that song. And then the idea of the song is like, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Okay. How often do you change your walk-up song?
I don't. That's the only one.
Really?
I just love that one.
Career long.
That's
really?
That's what I come up to.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So you never in a groove where you're like, I just heard the song on the radio. I'm feeling it. Really?
I'm like a baseball player. That's my walkout. That's my walkout song.
But that's awesome.
I stick to that one. I used to be just like play whatever you want.
Right.
And then I got to the point of like, it can't leave it in the hands of the sound guy at the comedy club.
Oh my God.
You really can't leave it. I love the sound guys at the comedy club. They do Lord's work. It's a tough job, but you can't give them free reign.
You can't give them that power.
You can't give them that power to play whatever they want when you walk up.
Yeah.
So,
what's the worst song you've ever been brought up to?
Oh God. Real American. Hulk Hogan's theme song.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's a tone setter.
Yeah.
And you have to come with that energy. And if you don't come with that energy, because everyone knows that song, and when it hits that bump, 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 people expect something when you go on stage. And if you're not bringing that level of energy, it doesn't match.
Right.
And I think your walkout song has to be something that matches what you do and your personality on stage.
Okay.
And it's just so, I'm not saying I can't hit that energy, but doing that on a regular basis or by surprise.
Right.
When the sound guy just plays Real American. And you're like, I'm not prepared for that. I need like 5 minutes of mental prep to get into Real American headspace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Do you think it's important for comics to have a walk-on song or a club to provide that? Because there are clubs where you just go up cold.
Yeah. I think there should be music going up. I never really thought it was important what the walkout song should be because I never really I didn't put much thought into it. And then after the Real American episode, I was like, I can't. They're going to play music, so I might as well have some input into it.
Right.
And then it took me a while to figure out like what song do I vibe to going up on stage. And then when I found Social Distortion, sometimes I do it because I always like listening to that song. I'm like, that opening guitar riff sounds like a good thing to come up to, and it puts me in the right headspace to do what I do on stage. So that's why I think it is important to have something that sort of locks you in as you're walking on stage.
Does that music affect your how you're feeling at the time? Because we're not always about to go on stage feeling 100% like we want to be there.
Yeah.
Does the music change that for you? Like if you're having a bad day, I was about to say a dirty word, but I'm trying to be good.
You're doing good.
Trying to be clean.
You're doing good.
Trying to edit as little as possible. Have you ever like had a bad day and you're like not feeling it? Does the music turn it up for you?
Yeah, you'll be standing there and you're just like, okay, and you're going through your head, you're going through your notes, your set list. You're like, I don't know if I want it. I don't feel like it. I don't want it. Just I can't wait for the next 10 minutes to be over, and then I can just go home. Right. And then you hear that. I just hear that like the beginning of Social Distortion song, and I'm just like, okay, I'm in. And then it carries me to the stage.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. It
totally does.
It totally gets me to move my feet forward and go to the stage. Like, okay, now it's go time.
That's so interesting because I'm definitely like I love having music going up and it definitely amps me up. But there are days where I'm definitely like, hey man, the music's gonna have to.
You're slogging through it.
Yeah, but unlike you, like the music won't get me there. Oftentimes it does, but there are days where it's like, yeah, just play the Bee Gees or something. I don't care. Like whatever.
Well, like it's weird because like you don't miss it until it's gone. Like you don't realize how important it is until it's not there. Like I was doing Garrett's Club in Las Vegas, the MGM Grand back in February, and they don't play music when you go up. It's just you get introduced, they applaud, the curtains open, you walk out, and you're there. You know, there's no sound guy running music, and he's like, it's kind of you realize it's not there. Like when you're playing it, when you do have it, sometimes you forget it's there. It's in you and you just go with it. But when it's not there, it feels louder than it is. And so you go up on stage and so you feel like you almost have to like manufacture this. It's harder to manufacture the fake energy sometimes at the top of the set. Like, hey, everybody. Like it's hard to do that if you don't have that music carrying you up there.
Right.
When it's just going up cold to the silence or just people applauding, you don't hear that music to sort of throw you into a rhythm.
Okay. It's funny because there are times where like I want the energy to match where I am. And if I'm up here, I want it to be wigwam.
Yeah.
And I want it to be, do you want to taste it? Which for since I appreciate that you understand and I love that song.
I'm trying to imagine going up to that song.
Like right up, ladies and gentlemen, Thom Tran, do you really want to taste it? And then the guitar line comes in. Yes. There are times where I feel like if that's the song they're bringing me up to, because it was my go-to walk-up song for the last couple of years. Yeah. And if I get up there and my energy is not there, I feel a disconnect. Yeah. So there are times.
That was my Real American problem.
Yeah. But there are times where, and this is weird, I've had a couple of shows recently where I'm just like, I don't give a crap.
And just play whatever. Just get me up stage.
And those have been the good sets.
Really?
Yeah, I've had, and I think it's the red light syndrome. Like I was recording some sets for submissions for comedy festivals or whatever, and I get it so into my head about that, and then the music doesn't help. Like I'm trying to match the music.
Right. And that's just one more thing you have to deal with.
Right. And I'm worried about did I turn the camera on? Is the microphone on? Do I remember my material?
Right.
Keep it clean.
You're just like, play whatever. I just got to get on stage.
Yes. But then there are nights where I just go, whatever, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's the low energy Thom.
Yeah.
Those nights where it's like, this was a surprisingly really good set where I just don't.
Well, sometimes when you take that effort energy, to be clean.
Yes, thank you.
You take the effort energy on stage. To me that always plays well with the audience. Like if you're up on stage and you just like, I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say because I think it's funny. If you don't laugh, I don't care.
Right.
Then the audience sort of like they have this weird respect for it where they're like, this guy doesn't care. This is great. I love this.
That is
it relieves all the tension and the nervousness that sometimes the audience feels for a performer when they get on stage.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people carry that on stage that like, I hope they like me. I hope they like me. I hope this works.
Yeah.
And the audience gets tense because they feel the tense energy from the comic, and then they don't like, oh God, I want to like him. I want to laugh for him. But sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's a weird. But when you get up there with that effort energy, you're like, I don't care, and they're like, this is great. All the pressure's off for the audience.
That's true because it is,
and then they can enjoy themselves,
right? Because there is that nervousness in general. Like a lot of clubs where like the audience, they're not sure what they can laugh at.
Yeah.
They're waiting for other people to laugh, and if you just give that, I don't care.
Yeah, something like the two energies I kind of figured out over like the 26 years I've been doing this. You either take that massive high energy of almost like you're taping a TV set and you don't care what the reaction's going to be from the audience. Like you're just going up there and you're almost doing like an act that you're doing a monologue for a TV show. Mm-hmm. Like you're just up there at a certain level and you're delivering your lines and you pause for where the laughs are supposed to be and you're hitting all your marks. And you can take that energy up there and the audience will come along. You can pull the audience along with that energy. Or you just take that effort energy up there where you're like, I don't care. I'm just up here. I'm having fun. And then they're relaxed and they can play with it. It's those two levels I think you can take up there. Anything in between, you risk really eating your own D.
Yeah. This is going to be so fun to edit.
Eating your own D.
And it's interesting you say that because like I haven't done a TV set. So you've done
a couple.
You've done like
Comedy
Fallon.
Central. I did Craig Ferguson back in the day. I've done Access TV. There was the Gotham Live.
Right.
I've done a few. I did Comics Unleashed. I've done a couple TV sets, and you take the energy you have to take up because you're not playing to the audience in the room, which is a weird mindset to get into.
Tell me about that.
It's almost like auditioning for like a Montreal or when your submission tape for a TV show, because the guy or girl watching the tape doesn't care, but can't even really understand hear the reaction in the room. You're playing for the camera. Mm-hmm. So you're almost doing it like a monologue.
Okay.
You're just up doing a scene for an audition.
Right.
Like you're bringing a certain level because that's what the character needs, mm-hmm. and that's what you're doing. You can't sit there and react to what the audience is giving you because the person watching it doesn't care. They want to hear the jokes, the material, your stage presence, how you deliver it. That's the stuff that matters. They don't care if you're killing in the room because they might not hear it. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's weird. Like especially with like when I did Ferguson, you just go out because the audience is already juiced because it's a TV set.
Right.
So you're not like, you don't have to worry about getting them. They're already amped up and there's usually a guy in the back. At least it was for my Ferguson set. There was a guy that stood all the way in the back. And I guess he was like the applause break guy.
Like a comedy fluffer?
Yeah. He was basically a comedy fluffer. And you would do a joke and then he would just start clapping. And it would elicit a applause break from the audience.
Right.
Because they want the audience to be juiced. They're doing everything they can to make the audience into it. So you just have to go up and just do your lines.
Yeah.
It's not stand-up comedy. It's acting.
Okay.
Stand-up for TV is acting.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I haven't been in that position to do, like I haven't done a late night show. I've put in plenty of tapes.
Well, it doesn't mean what it used to mean. But.
I know. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Where it used to be, you move out to LA, and I tell people this all the time, like back in the 70s and 80s when the great westward migration happened, where you move out to LA, you do a spot at the store, you get on the couch with Carson. Yeah. The next thing you know, you're Freddie Prinze Jr.
You're a made man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And none of that matters anymore.
None of it matters.
Like we know people who've done 10, 15 sets.
I know people have done 4 or 5 Tonight Show spots.
Yeah.
And most of the country doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But you do a couple podcasts or put a TikTok video out there that goes viral, and you're doing a world tour.
Right.
It's crazy. It just doesn't matter anymore.
It's
network TV doesn't matter anymore, which is weird.
Because
that was the dream.
And a lot of comedy clubs like still won't even hire people unless they can say, "Oh, as seen on."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or you have some viral video that they know that you have this certain reach. You can bring people in the club, which I don't even know if it translates.
It doesn't. As a former booker,
yeah, it doesn't translate.
A lot of it doesn't translate. Yeah. And even if it does, if those people don't have the skill to translate their 15 or 20 minute YouTube video or their 7-second TikTok into an hour of live stand-up comedy,
which is totally different than the minute you're watching. I mean, TikTok.
You just said doing stand-up in front of an audience for TV is different than doing
real stand-up.
Real stand-up.
Yeah.
And like you have these people who show up and then they do, they try to turn their funny weightlifting show into an hour of stand-up comedy.
Work.
And people are like, what is this?
Yeah. You might be able to get a night of a sold-out show, but you're not going to be able to sell out a weekend.
Right. And the fear I have is like that damages comedy for the audience.
Because a lot of those people are first-time comedy club goers.
Yeah. And then they go, is this what this is?
Yeah.
Did I just spend upwards of $100 on a night to see this? Because you got to buy the tickets, you got to buy the food, you got to buy the drinks. If you buy merch, I mean...
It damages comedy for sure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like I said, like their first-time comedy club goers, I like this guy. I saw him on TikTok. Or I saw him on YouTube. I'm going to go. And you go and you're like, oh, this is... Okay.
Yeah.
This is an hour? He was funny for a minute.
Right.
This is an hour. And then people are like, I'm not going to go back. That was a waste. I don't like it.
Yeah. How would you say comedy and music are similar or different for that matter?
I think it's an escape for the audience. Both of them are. I mean, music is a little more, I think I'm trying to figure out the right word. Like when you're at a concert and you're hearing the music, you kind of like, your like instinct takes over. It's almost like it goes back to like caveman stuff where you just like, you're in
your lizard
rhythm.
brain.
Yeah, your lizard brain. You're just into the primal brain of just lizard. You're like hearing the music and you're just spitting out the lyrics, from rote memorization of just like being in that moment where it's not hitting you on a level that you relate to. It's just, it's hitting you on an instinctual level of just like, this makes me feel good.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
whereas comedy is different in a way, is like you go to share in the human experience or to see what someone's opinions are about something. It's a different sort of connection you make with comedy as opposed to music. Music, you're just trying to hook people in and get the fire dance going.
Right.
Right. It's just, you want people just to be mindless people.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, just Lord of the Flies, just dancing in a circle around a fire pit.
Right.
That's what music is. To me anyway. Comedy is about like, okay, how are we all connected? What connects all of us? And point out our differences, so maybe we can like get over those differences to show like how stupid some of those differences are. Like it's a more intellectual connection.
Okay.
I think stand-up comedy is as opposed to the primal connection.
Do you think that comedy maybe also hits at an atomic level?
I think the group laugh, the building, comedy is building up the tension and then releasing the tension. That's where you get the laugh from, right? You're the setup, you're building the tension, and then the punchline, you're releasing the tension. Everyone laughs. So I think that group mind, I think hits on that primal level, because to me as a comic, when you go up on stage, it's not individuals in the audience, it's the audience. It's an organism. It's a living, breathing organism where like all the individuals become one. To me anyway. From what I've experienced in comedy, it's like and that's why that one person who sort of gets out of line in the audience, the heckler, the drunk person, the crowd will, if you give them enough rope, they will hang themselves. Every heckler.
Yeah.
And the crowd will turn on them.
Right.
Because the group mind is enjoying what's happening. And if that one person's out, then the group wants that person out.
Right.
The organism is trying to get rid of that virus.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way
You know
to
what I'm
put
saying?
it. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, technically, as the comic, you're the medicine up there trying to get rid of the virus, and the organism is trying to fight the virus itself too.
Right.
So if you treat every heckler like a virus, that the group mind or the group organism of the audience will expel it at some point. But I think that is sort of that primal group think level, that tribe think level of the audience, of like, they're there for to be entertained, to laugh, to feel something together, the shared experience of it, which, again, I guess at the baseline level, music and comedy, it's the shared experience.
Right.
It's being there with other people going through something, as opposed to just listening to music in headphones by yourself. Yeah, you get something out of that.
Yeah.
Or watching a comedy show at home on Netflix. You get something out of it, but it's not the same as the group experience.
Right.
And I think comedy and music both give us that group experience of whether it's intellectual or primal, of being together with other people and going through something together.
Right. Do you think something is lost by watching comedy, on a Netflix at home in your room?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some comics are great. Like I could watch Mitch Hedberg. I don't have to be in the room.
Right.
Like I saw Mitch Hedberg live once, and I was in Montreal 2004. I'd just done my New Faces set, and it was like the last night in Montreal. And so we're all at I think the Comedy Nest or some club in Montreal, and it's just everyone's just going up. All the comics were at the show. They're all at the club, and everyone's just doing 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. We're all getting our chance to just go up and do a club set finally with no pressure in Montreal because there's no industry there. And we're all doing our sets or whatever. And everyone's doing well. You're all good comics. You're in Montreal. Everybody's doing well. And then Mitch Hedberg goes up and just annihilates the place.
That's got to be amazing.
And you just see the difference between good comic and like generational talent comic.
Right.
And everyone, like I said, everyone killed. Everyone did great. He gets up and just blows the place away. And so like someone like Mitch Hedberg with that the writing he had, the jokes he had, you can watch him on TV and appreciate it and laugh out loud at the ridiculous. At Stephen Wright, same sort of thing. Like the writing is so good that you don't need the audience to appreciate the comedy, right? You still laugh at, you don't miss anything, right? Whereas like some comics, you want to go and be there for the experience, because sometimes you do lose something in the translation of watching it and not being in the club.
Right.
So,
what was your first music concert? What was your first comedy show?
First music concert was Jack Wagner, the star of General Hospital. Do you remember that? I have the concert T-shirt. I was like in 5th grade or 6th. My mom took me. Was that All I Need Is a Little More Time? Was that his song? I think that he had one hit song and he became a rock star.
Oh my God, I remember this now.
All I need
Yes.
is a little. I think that was the song. So I went to Jack Wagner concert. And then I think the next real concert I went to, I think it was Beastie Boys.
Okay.
When I was like middle school.
All right.
After
Beastie Boys in middle school?
Yeah. My mom took me. It was an experience. Licensed to Ill, and then
So you went to see the Beastie Boys with your mom in middle school?
who was else? I can't drive myself. So my mom took me.
What was the crowd around you like?
It was it was weird because there were other kids there my age, and there were parents in the back.
Oh, okay.
Parents did drive because it was Licensed to Ill was huge for, I think, from like people from like middle school through high school. Like it was a huge. So there was a lot of kids my age there,
right?
And there were parents. The occasional parent was there,
okay?
Because Beastie Boys were you didn't have like when I was at AC/DC with my son. There was people like older than me and my son's age. There was a wide range of fans.
Yeah.
Where Beastie Boys at the time, it was just all 12 to 20-year-olds, 12 to 18-year-olds. So they couldn't be there without someone driving, most of them being driven by an older person who had no idea what they were watching. And that's what my mom was. And then I grew up around DC, and the 930 Club was a big place to go watch live music at the 930.
I've heard of that club.
It's a great club. So I've seen Social Distortion there. I've seen They Might Be Giants there. Great local band that I grew up listening to, especially in college years, Emmett Swimming. They would play there all the time. So it's just like I saw a lot of local bands and stuff, but like the big bands, Pearl Jam, I've seen several times live. Mm-hmm. U2, Guns N' Roses. So yeah, just tons of music. Jack Wagner, though, was my first. So,
did you wait in line for concert tickets? Did you ever do that thing? Because we're about the same age.
Did I wait?
Did you do the thing where you went to a record store and like they're like tickets are going on sale at 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon?
I did for Social Distortion at 930 Club. You had to wait tickets for that. Pearl Jam, I was always a member of the fan club, so I would just get them through the fan club.
Okay.
The Vitology Health Club or 10 Club or whatever it's called now. So I always get tickets through that. I mostly waited in line a few times. You'd have to go to Ticketmaster at the mall
Right.
to get tickets.
Oh, I forgot about Ticketmaster at the malls.
When they had like a brick and mortar place,
Yeah.
you'd go to Ticketmaster at a mall to get your tickets. That's how I got wrestling tickets too. You'd go to the mall to go see to go see wrestling at the Cap Center. Sorry, would you time that?
That was at 29
Sorry,
minutes.
Just beep that one. Well, you go see the house shows for wrestling. So
Yeah.
you'd wait in line for those tickets. But
Would you wait in line for tickets now? Let me back up. Do you think there's something missing now in the experience of getting concert tickets where people don't have to wait in lines, where it's like you literally you're on your phone you're on
I think you missed something. Again, it's part of the group shared experience of like we all sat through this to get into this. Like I remember the old album release parties. Like I remember I waited
New Music Tuesdays.
Yeah, in college they were releasing the Verse out, Pearl Jam's Verse at midnight on midnight Monday going into
Tuesdays,
Tuesday.
yeah.
And we all went to the local record store in college, and there was a line wrapping around the block, and we all at midnight. We could have gone the next morning, not waited at all,
Right.
and just picked it up. But we all waited in that line to get it, so we go home and listen to it. And it was just that group experience of hanging out and
meeting like-minded people.
It's like going to Comic-Con and waiting in line. It's like like-minded people waiting to do things.
I don't wait in line at Comic-Cons.
You're a SOB. You're an SOB.
The perks of working in the media.
Yeah.
What was your first comedy show?
Stand-up that I went to live?
Yeah.
There was in college, I went to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. And there was I guess now as a comic, I knew it, now it's called a one-nighter at the Hilton.
Right.
There was a hotel at the Hilton across the street from the college. And then their conference or their ballroom or whatever it was, or their bar, I guess it was the bar or the restaurant. They had a comedy show. And knowing now that it's a one-nighter, it's like back then I didn't know. I was like, you guys have a comedy club. It's not a comedy, it's a one-nighter. And so my friends and I, we went and I watched two guys do, host, feature, headliner do the show. I'm like, okay, I could do that. I could do that. He had a joke about he had big stretchy pants. Like I could.
Right.
He had a joke about losing weight and had big stretchy pants. I don't know what it was. And then of course it's a one-nighter and a road comic, so the entire last 20 minutes of the act was a commercial for his merchandise. Right? Because that's what a road comic does on a one-nighter.
That's how we make money.
Your last 20 minutes is just a long commercial for merchandise.
Yeah.
So I was like, I came out like, okay, that's the first time I'd ever seen stand-up comedy live. Like, when as a kid, I'd watch, Rodney Dangerfield's young stand-up specials on HBO, where you saw like Sam Kinison for the first time, or Jerry Seinfeld for the first time, or Bob Saget for the first time. You saw those, and then, of course, the Robin Williams live at the Met was the first one I saw. All the George Carlin stuff, and like that's where I was like, oh, this is stand-up comedy, because I knew sitcoms. Right. I grew up watching Carol Burnett show. I grew up watching Three's Company. I'd watch old Dick Van Dyke episodes. I knew what sitcoms were, and I liked the funny person making people laugh. But I didn't know, okay, there's you can do that outside of a story or outside of a show. You can just stand there in front of an audience and make people laugh. And getting cable finally and watching stand-up on cable, I was like, oh, this is something people do. You can just stand there and make people laugh. And so that's where I first saw it. I was like, oh, I think I want to do that. As a young kid, I was like 8, 9 years old. I was like, I want to do that. But again, I didn't actually see a live stand-up show until I was in college. And then when I moved out here right after college, I started going to I kind of started soon after that, but I would go to the Improv. I go to the Comedy Store just to watch. I saw George Carlin at the Comedy Store right when I moved out here. Because the way he would used to do it, he would write for a year, then perform it for a year, and then do his HBO special. That was his cycle. He would just, every 2 years, he'd pump out a new special. And he just finished writing for doing that year of writing, so he was doing that year of performing. And he was at the main room of the Comedy Store. I was like, I have to go, because you don't know if you're ever going to see Carlin. This was like 99, 2000. So I'm like, I'm going. I think it was the last time I bought a ticket to a comedy show. I bought a ticket. I sat front row in the main room of the Comedy Store watching George Carlin. And he was just putting it on its feet, so he wasn't even performing it. He was just reading it. Most of it was off note cards. Yeah. It was a different Carlin you've ever seen perform. Carlin's usually walking back and forth, talking and engaged with the audience. He was just standing against a curtain with a table with note cards and just reading bits. And it was still like, I'm watching the process. Right. And as a young comedian, I'm like, oh, this is the process. It's not just get up on stage and act it out. There's the and that's where I learned there's that process of like taking a bit up, working it, and then you see it a year later on HBO, and you're like, oh, that's where it went from here to there.
Yeah.
Because he put that work in. It wasn't just born that way.
Right.
So like that was a great lesson to learn as a young comic, seeing Carlin go up there, reading off note cards, and then a year later watching that on HBO become this entire monster bit that was just on a note card that got a lukewarm reaction in the room.
That is a huge eye-opener because so many people, even comedians, there are a lot of comedians who think you just get on stage and you just open your mouth and funny things come out.
No.
I remember the first time that hit me, that process really hit me. Even I'd been doing comedy for a while, but I remember watching a Dave Attell Comedy Central Presents.
Yeah.
And it was one of the early ones. And it was a killer 30. And then a few years later, I downloaded like some bootlegs from the Montreal Comedy Festival.
Right.
And I heard the joke. I heard the original versions or the beginning version of a joke that I'd already heard the finished version of on Comedy Central.
And you saw where it came from.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's how it happens.
It's like hearing those raw, unreleased tracks of like an old Pearl Jam song, and then you hear, oh, these were the studio sessions or whatever. This was them working it out, and this is the finished. You're like, oh my God.
Right.
I see where it's coming. I saw the goodness, the greatness in that song, but it wasn't realized. And then you see the final thing, you're like, oh my God.
If you ever get a chance to go to the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York, they have Carlin's notes.
Oh, really?
They have trunks full of notes that his daughter gave to the museum. That's amazing. They were going to give it to the Smithsonian, but the Smithsonian apparently was like, yeah, we'll put it in a room and then, we'll put it out every once in a while for a thing. And National Comedy Center went, no, just give them to us.
Wow. That's awesome.
So Carlin's daughter gave, and there's a whole exhibit to Carlin. If you've never, for people who've never been to the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York, Jamestown is where Lucille Ball is from. And they had a museum to her. And they built a comedy center down there. It's like the National Comedy Museum.
Right.
Amazing exhibits. Just like I went there last year to do some scouting for a show. And I was like, oh my God, this place, it blew me away.
That sounds awesome.
They had interactive exhibits, but they had a hologram of, I want to say Kimmel? No. One of the late night guys. But it looked like a legit, it looked like a Star Wars hologram. It was amazing. Like you sit in this little theater and a hologram comes down on the stage and he talks to you, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is Star Wars
in the
stuff."
future or the past."
Yeah, but they have like an exhibit to Carlin, and they have like trunks full of his notes.
That's amazing.
And
that's always been the hardest part to me as a comedian is the writing. I love performing; it's my favorite part of stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. I hate the writing process.
Yeah,
it is a chore for me. Most of my writing technique is I take an idea up on stage and I fail with it several times. Right? Before it gets molded into the way I want to do it. I've never been that guy that can sit there and just write jokes and go, let me try this and take that up on stage, which is, I wish I could. And I saw that with Carlin. He had all those notes. I'm like, God, I wish I could write in notebooks ideas and things for notes and go up and do it on stage. But I have to go up on stage, do that. Okay, that worked. And then I'll scribble down what worked, what didn't work. If that line worked, I'll write that down. But it's just such a long process. And I hate that. It's such a tedious process.
How many times do you take a joke up and it fails before you go, all right, I'm not doing it. This isn't working?
It's weird. Like I'll try it several times, probably 10 or 11 times. If it's
That's
not
more than several.
Okay.
Several's 3.
That's a few. No, I'll take it up like what's several? What's 10 or 11?
A couple is 2.
Handfuls.
a couple of
handfuls.
bushel.
A bushel.
A bushel
full
of
a bushel
times?
and a peck. I'll take it up on stage for a while. And if it's not working, I'll sort of phase it out, and I just won't do it. And then I'll let it sit there for months, sometimes a couple years. I'm like, that was a good premise.
Right.
There's got to be something to that premise.
Yeah.
And then I'll just bring it back out. And now, of course, I'm a different person than I was 6 months ago or a year ago. And so it'll click in my mind different, or I'll see it from a different angle, a different perspective. And like, oh, I can come at it this way instead of this way, and then it'll work. It's weird. I had this weird bit about dentists.
Okay.
Where I couldn't figure out how to make jokes about dentists because everybody hates the dentist.
Right.
And I kept going up, taking this bit up on stage and playing it from the POV of hating the dentist, and nothing was ever working. And then I put it away And then a couple months later, I was like, there's something there because we can all relate to. It's that shared human experience. We can all relate to the dentist. We all hate it. How can I make this work? And I was like, and then for some reason, click. Let me come out the other way. I love the dentist. I love going to the dentist.
Right.
And then you point out all the things that people hate about the dentist, but from the point of view of loving the dentist. Like the bit was, I wanted to go in like it's just a torture room.
Right.
It's all laid out there. It's just a torture room. We all hate this, but like come out from like I love going to the dentist because to me it's the most honest of all the doctors. They tell you right up front what they're going to do. They have their whole Saw torture chamber laid out. And we're like, yeah, we're going to do all of this to you. Oh, here's your lead vest. Why do I need this? Because of cancer. Like it's just they're completely honest. And so it's like if you just flip the perspective on it of like no, I don't hate the dentist. I love it because he's being honest with me.
Right.
And I didn't see that from doing it over and over. I was just beating my head against the wall until I put it away for a little while. And I came back like, oh no, I was going the other side of the wall. And there's a different POV of it. And then it clicked and it worked.
Right. What's your favorite mothball joke that you brought out? Or is it the dentist one?
I used to have this bit. I was trying to work it into it. Finally made it into my last special I did because I was hiking with my wife a long time ago. And we had this, she always has these weird ideas. She was walking. She's like, I had this great idea. What if we, the whole thing was she wanted to like save money so we could buy a house. And she was like, wouldn't it be a great idea if we won the lottery and it paid our rent for the year? And I was like, that's such a dumb, stupid thing to say. But it stuck in my head. I'm like, that's got to be fun. It's got to be a stand-up bit somehow. Right. And so I kept trying to make it work, and then it wasn't working. I would just go up there and explain exactly what was happening. And I would get laughs at the premise, but there was no punchline. There was no way out of it to get a big laugh.
Right.
There was nothing funnier than the premise.
Okay.
And that's always a problem in comedy when you have a premise that gets laughs and the punchline doesn't live up to the premise.
Yeah.
So that was what was happening. And so I just put that one away for a while. And then I'm like, I was getting ready to film my special back in 2019. I'm like, I had like this, I needed a few more minutes to get to get where I wanted, to get it to flush out the full hour and to tell the story of me being married and being with my wife. And it fit right. The premise fit into this section of the act where like, this would go really good right here. I just got to figure out how to do it. And so before I filmed it, a couple times I went up and I was like, it hit me. Oh, she can say, wouldn't it be great if we won the lottery to pay our rent for the year? Wouldn't that would give us some breathing room? I'm like, yeah, that'd be only like $20,000. and then I do the POV, then I do the character switch and she's like, yeah, Eddie, I'm just trying to figure out for us ways to save money. And so she got mad at me because I didn't think her idea was good. And then I go, yeah, but okay, that's great. But what if we're just going to make up lottery winnings? Why don't we just win $1 billion and not have to worry about money for the rest of our life?
Right.
And then, it builds to the point where she just shoves me off the cliff. It was one of those things where it's like the idea of it was good, and I couldn't find a way. I couldn't find the way to tell it, the POV of how to tell it,
right,
until I put it away for a while and it came back. I'm like, oh, I'll be the anti-view to her positive idea of winning the lottery. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. It'll only be like $15,000. But what if we won? If you're going to make up a whole lottery thing, let's just win $1 billion. So it kind of built up that way, and it ended up working in the long run. It's a weird process.
Yeah, I mean, writing as a comedian and writing as a musician, like I've talked to other comics about this on this show, and they very much say, and it makes sense, that writing for music and writing for comedy are a lot the same because you have a rhythm.
Yeah.
You have a stanza, you have a melody, even if it's, with comedy, it's like, this is the idea I'm going with.
Yeah, right.
And it's amazing to me when there are comics who can just go on stage and are effortless.
Yeah.
With like Burr.
Yeah.
Like Burr will go up and just fucking talk.
Right.
God damn it. 43 minutes. I said the F word.
You almost made it.
Almost made it.
But he's great. But he's figured out his voice so well.
Yeah.
That you could just, it's almost like, here's the formula of his process. And you just plug in a premise and then it just writes itself. And I'm not saying it's easy, but he makes it look effortless because he's figured out his voice so well.
Right.
And I think as comics, we're all trying to find what's our voice so we could just get to that point of like, I can take up any idea on stage and take it to its natural conclusion and it's going to be funny.
Right. How long did it take you to find your voice, or have you yet?
That's the thing, is like sometimes you have those shows like that's my voice, and then you have another show, you're like, who am I?
I should shut up.
Who am I? I don't know who I am.
What do you do when you have those shows? When
Just
you're
try
like-
to get to the next show.
Yeah.
Just try to go back up. Because that's common. It's the next show.
Yeah.
It's not permanent.
Yeah.
It's not etched in stone.
Right.
It's gone. It's in the ether. It's away. And so you just like, I got to do the next one.
Good and bad shows.
Good and bad shows. Like, that's why you can't like, okay, you can try to use the good show to help your confidence for the next show.
Right.
But that's all you can use it for. I mean, if something worked, yeah, but you don't know if it's going to work for this new show.
And that's frustrating.
Yeah.
As a comedian and a musician, when, like I have a bit that I know kills.
Yeah.
And then you take it in front of an audience.
And they're like,
nothing. Nothing.
But then that's the thing. Like, they always say when you're sort of like, you can't blame the audience. Yeah, sometimes you can.
Sometimes you can.
Sometimes you can blame the audience.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have a bad audience.
Yeah.
Comic can have a bad night. Audience can have a bad night.
Yeah.
Because again, it's an organism. It's it's a group mind, and they can all and just a few of them can ruin the whole thing.
Yeah. What do you do when you get subjected to a bad audience?
I get more in the F it mode. It just like, it's sort of like, it's like Bane hitting the button and just F it, and you just turn into Bane, and you just like, you get even more like, and that gives me, I actually don't mind those because I get more free sometimes, and
Right.
just I go like, oh, I'll try this bit then.
Yeah.
Because it can't get worse than it is now.
Right.
And then you just try, and sometimes you find something.
Yeah.
And sometimes that display of like not caring so much kind of reels the audience back in. It's a strange thing, but again, it's a finite moment in time, and then when it's over, it's over.
Right.
And you got to go on to the next one.
Yeah. Those people leave.
They leave. You go home. You cry it out. You get back on stage the
I
next.
cried it out in the car on the drive home. Very much so.
But this is when music comes into play. That's when I start playing music
Okay.
to get me out of that funk.
What do you play to get you out of that I failed zone?
It varies. It depends on what I want. Do I want to be amped up and like, am I pissed, or do I want to feel melancholy and sad? Do I want Yellow Ledbetter right now,
Right.
or do I want Don't Need Nothing But a Good Time? Like,
Right.
what do I need?
Yeah.
And like lately, I've been playing. If I have a bad set, I'll go in my car and I'll play show tunes from the Popeye music, from the Robin Williams Popeye music movie. Blow Me Down, or I Am What I Am. And for some reason, it lifts my mood. It lifts my mood, and
Yeah.
it gets me in the place I want to. It gets me out of that funk and lets me go. Okay, that's over. I'm on to the next one.
Right.
I don't know why, because I know that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I don't know why. I saw it like 6 times in the
Oh, I
theater.
love that movie.
And I know all the lyrics to all the songs. And for some reason, like I'm mean, like I'll start singing it in the car and it gets me. Again, it locks into that primal thing, and I get out of my intellectual headspace, and I can just feel better.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So,
Were you a musicals kid? Do you dig
not
musicals?
really.
No?
Like, I don't like musicals. Usually, like, wow, you really found a way to ruin this movie by throwing music into it, because it takes me out.
Yeah.
Usually,
Oh, absolutely.
musicals usually very few music. Like, I like Popeye for some reason. I like Mary Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
But most modern musicals, if I watch it and then people start singing, I'm like, well, okay, well, now the narrative's blown.
Really? Okay.
I
yeah,
can't follow along anymore. I'm waiting for the song to be over to get back into the story.
I totally feel that way.
So I don't really like musicals, but there's some of those musicals from my childhood, just because I know the songs so well,
right.
that I appreciate the music.
Have you seen Hamilton?
I've never seen Hamilton.
I felt the same way about musicals. I am not a musicals person, which is weird because I'm a musician and I did theater.
Yeah.
Not a musicals person.
All signs point to loving music.
Yes, all signs point to I should have been gay. Like, I definitely should be living here with a dude.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
just if
nothing,
you're
guys.
God bless you. Not a musicals guy.
Right.
Like, even in high school, I played in the swing choir, but I was in the band.
Right.
Like, I didn't do the singing and dancing. Actually, who did I just see? I just saw the guy from Panic at the Disco, I want to say, singing the DuckTales theme song with the Fallon Band, I think. I think this is on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I saw this on YouTube, but it was like the guy from the lead singer from Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure singing the DuckTales theme song.
Yeah.
And just doing the musicals thing.
Yeah.
I love Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
I love DuckTales.
Yeah.
Love Fallon.
Yeah.
I hated that performance. I was like, don't do this. Stop. Why are you doing this? And it was, I don't know, maybe it was the facial movements or whatever, but never been a musicals guy.
Right.
All that to say, I've never been a musicals guy. A buddy of mine was in the Hollywood production of Hamilton.
Okay.
We did a TV show together, and I really wanted to impress this girl. And he was like, "I'll get you tickets, like third row center."
Dude, that's impressive.
She broke up with me the day before
That
the
sucks.
musical. And I went in going, if I hated musicals before, I am gonna effing hate this show. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was, I followed the story, and I'm like you. I'm like, as soon as you start singing what's going
Like,
on,
I'm out.
I'm out. But, and I'm not one of those people who's like, you gotta go see Hamilton. It was like, it moved me in a weird way where I don't know if it's the modernality. I don't know if that's a word. I think I might have just made it.
It's a good word.
I don't know if it's the modernness of, who's the guy who does all the musical stuff?
Oh man,
What's his face?
yeah, I know.
Giancarlo Esposito. No, that's not it. The guy.
The guy. We all know the guy.
The guy.
I can't think of his name either.
I'm
bad with names.
Guy. I don't know if it's that, but it was the first musical I've seen in my 40 plus years, aside from the one I saw on Broadway when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That I was like, this is really good. But then, like, I can't stand a show like Glee. I don't know why.
No, I can't either. I can't watch it
No.
because it just throws me out.
Yeah.
It just always throws me out.
Which is weird because we're both nerds.
Yeah.
And we're comedians.
Yeah.
We're like, I feel like that should fit.
You
so
think it
well.
would, but it doesn't.
Yeah. But we're also 80s metal guys.
Yeah.
I mean, look at my house. I have Eddie Van Halen's guitar, Zakk Wylde's guitar, Prince's guitar. I have a double neck Fender bass Strat.
You have several double necks.
Yeah, I have,
More than I've ever seen in one room.
I have one that's not even put together in the closet.
That's amazing.
So I don't know, maybe it's that like I grew up in that. We both grew up in the arena rock area of cannons and pyro and explosions. And then you have here in Duckburg. I'm like, stop it, stop it.
No, sit down.
Have you ever opened for a band?
I've never opened for a band.
Okay.
I've never had to open for a band. Thank God.
I like how you said I've never had to open.
I've never
for a
had to
band.
open for a band. I've never been put in that position.
All right.
Have you?
I opened for Night Ranger
You did?
3 years ago.
How
4
was
years
that?
ago. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. It was. Okay, first of all, oh God, all right, we're gonna get into this. So my agent calls me up.
Yeah.
I think I told. Yeah, I think I told Brad Williams the story.
Yeah.
But so my agent calls me up and goes, "Hey, do you want to open for Night Ranger? It's a military benefit in Ojai, California." Hell
That
yes.
seems like everything for you.
It's all the things.
It's all the things
It's
for you.
beautiful. It's Night Ranger.
It's military.
It's military.
It's everything.
Yes. Trying to get this squared away. I was like, look, if they can get me up to play Still Rockin' in America, I'll do this.
So you're trying to get into the band.
Yeah, I'm trying to like sit in for Brad Gillis. Long story short, that show gets canceled. It gets moved to Nevada.
Okay.
Just east of Reno.
Still a military benefit or no?
Still a military
Okay.
benefit. In a town an hour from Reno, which is a town 3 hours from anything else.
Yeah. Because Reno by itself is.
Yeah. The show was at a rodeo.
Okay.
Where
okay.
they.
These
Yeah.
all signs are pointing down.
Lots of horse poop everywhere
Yeah.
and where we were playing. And
A lot of real Americans.
Yeah. So when I went up, and the GIs, this was a GIs
Right.
show, they could care less
Right.
because it was an Asian dude, a Mexican,
Right.
and we have Steve Maison. So like the token white guy.
You had 3 comics before Night Ranger?
Yes. 4 comics
No.
actually, because Renee Percy was there too.
Oh, my poor Renee.
and the audience could give less.
They want to see
of an
Night
F.
Ranger.
Yes, they want to see Night Ranger.
Right. One comic tops before Night Ranger.
Yeah. Oh,
not 4.
And no, not 4, 5, because the guy who produced it fancied himself.
Oh, he wanted
a
to do a
comedian,
comedy,
and he wanted to do, and he was the. He was a producer.
Okay, sure.
Long story short, we never got paid for this gig. Night Ranger got paid.
You guys never got paid?
Never
you
got
went
paid.
to Nevada?
Yeah. Never got paid.
Nevada, sorry.
Gave me a check, but the next day called me and said, hey, don't cash that. It's going to bounce.
That's awful.
Yeah. And then the organization went out of business. I don't know if any money ever made it to the military. I don't know if any that ever.
So bottom line, don't open for bands.
It was cool only because, and this is the only reason I didn't burn that guy's house to the ground. Hanging out backstage, and Brad Gillis is like, hey, man, I hear you guys were all in the military. I'm like, yeah, I used to play Still Rockin' in America every time I loaded up my magazines to go out on a mission.
Wow.
And he brings me on the tour bus, and I told this joke for a while, but like, so I love Night Ranger.
Yeah.
Sister Christian, Rockin' in America, Secret Mice, all of it.
Yeah.
And he goes, do you want to come hang out on the bus? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So like, I just opened for Night Ranger.
The only reason I'm here is because of you guys.
Yeah. So I get on the bus, and they're talking to the drummer from Y&T.
Yeah.
So it's like Carrie Kelly.
Oh, my God.
Brad Gillis, he lets me hold his guitar.
That's cool.
And I'm like, I'm about to walk on a Night Rangers tour bus. Like a dream I've had since I was a child.
Yeah.
And I go on, and I am expecting drugs and strippers.
Lines of coke, stripper pole.
Yeah. I get up there, and I'm not exaggerating. He goes, we just cut some melons. So if you would like some cantaloupe or watermelon.
You like mango?
I was like, where are the strippers? He goes, I'm 70.
Like, oh, yeah. Oh, Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been great hanging out with them in 83.
Yeah.
Not in the year of our Lord 2022.
That's crazy.
It was if it weren't for that experience, if it weren't for the fact that I have a photo of me holding Brad Gillis's Strat
Right.
on the tour bus,
Right.
I would have burned that organization to the ground.
Well, that was your payment, I guess.
Yeah. So, at least the other comics were cool about it. Like I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm losing. I've lost money on this because we drove up there. I paid for food because I'm like, this is
brutal.
My agent set this up.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Brutal.
opening for bands is terrible. For young comics, whoever want to think,
Don't do it.
Don't.
I mean, it's a paid gig, usually.
Usually
it's a paid gig.
I mean, the band got paid. Because of course the band got paid.
You need a paid gig, I guess.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up shortly. Couple final questions.
Yeah.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Daydream Believer by the Monkees.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. Because I kind of break into like an English accent when I do it. I don't know why. Because I don't do a really good English accent.
Right.
But for some reason, when I'm doing that song, it's acceptable. And the way the song builds, it's just a fun karaoke song.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And then you get the whole audience screaming it.
Daydream Believer. Yeah. I don't know why.
What's your guilty pleasure song?
Outside of the Popeye soundtrack?
I don't think that's a guilty pleasure. I think that's completely acceptable.
The Mask's theme song from the cartoon
The
Mask.
80s?
Yeah.
That also I don't feel is like a
Is that
guilty
not guilty?
theme song.
But I have a heavy
That song is so good.
Have you heard the heavy metal version?
Yes.
So good. It's so amazing.
Yes. And if those of you who don't know, Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command
With a K.
With a K.
With a K.
They were like It was like if G.I. Joe
Met
and Transformers and they had an illegitimate child.
Yes.
And then during the third season, they were racers.
They were racers, which disappointed me.
Was
'cause I hated it.
terrible.
I hated it.
It had the most banging theme song.
Oh, dude.
It was so 80s.
Masked Crusaders. Oh, so good.
Yeah. Also, I don't feel like that's a
That's
guilty
probably not a
pleasure.
guilty pleasure. Maybe. I mean, again, it's from music. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Okay, I'll give
guess.
you that. I'll give you that.
I'll listen to that sometimes as a pick-me-up
Right.
because it's one of those songs that just lifts your mood instantly. What's your guilty pleasure song?
Sucker by the Jonas Brothers. Only because
I won't turn Mbop off if it's on the radio.
Okay. I heard a rock cover of Sucker
Yeah.
by these internet musicians,
Yeah.
and it was really good.
Yeah.
It was like the drummer was doing these super obnoxious, like 30-second beats. I was like, this is really good. This is the first time I heard the song.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, that's a Jonas Brothers song. And then I listened to the Jonas Brothers version. I was like, oh, this is also very good.
Slaps.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like Hanson Mbop, I won't turn off.
All right.
I guess that's a guilty pleasure. I won't turn it off.
Okay.
I won't start it, but I won't turn it off.
You know what I completely forgot to ask you about,
What?
even though it's what this show is about?
What?
What's your experience with musical comedy? Where's that fall in your
I
preview?
am so not musical
Okay.
in any way. I can't carry a tune. I tried to play guitar several times throughout my life. I could never get it.
Right.
I have not a musical bone in my body. I've always looked at people that do musical comedy in a sort of awe because I don't know how you do it, how you talk and play music at the same time. I can't see how the brain can do such complicated things. So I do appreciate it as an art form and as a form of comedy. It's never been something I could do because I'm not musical at all.
All right.
No sense of rhythm. Can't carry a tune. Don't know how to play an instrument.
Do you enjoy it?
The people do it well, yes.
Okay.
Some people like
Stephen Lynch, Bo Burnham, those cats.
yeah, Bo Burnham's so freaking talented.
Yeah, it's sick. It makes me.
Like you watch him, you're like, it's not even. It's high. It's a higher art form than comedy.
Yeah, I think it's a higher level of thinking for that.
Yes, it's insane. So it's just like I'm in awe of them because it's not something I can. I walk into a comedy club and I watch comedians do comedy, and I go, I can appreciate a good joke. I can go, oh, I can get jealous of a good joke. Oh man, I should have thought of that.
Right.
But it's not. I don't look at them doing it. They're like, oh man, I could never do that.
Right.
I always can picture myself. I could do that. That's something I could. I'm in that league where I can do that. I may not be as good as them, but I can at least play the sport. Whereas like when I see good musical comedy, I'm like, I can't. Like that's just something beyond anything my body is able of producing.
All right, cool.
So,
thank you for coming over. This has
a
been
blast.
Awesome. I really appreciate. I really appreciate the laughs today.
Oh, good.
For many reasons. You understand.
Glad you get out of your head.
Yeah. It's been a rough week for me, folks. Comedy has always been the thing that has gotten me through combat.
Yeah.
When I was literally when I was in the Army, and then combat coming home, and I really needed this. So thank you for coming over. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can go to eddiepence.com or you can go at Eddie Pence on all the socials.
Yeah, and you do the Ralph Report.
You can
with Ralph
check
Garman.
like all the landing pages are on I post about my multiple podcasts all the time, so you can find me anywhere.
Excellent. All right, thanks for coming over, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, new episode every Tuesday, and new list show every Thursday on the official YouTube channel, youtube.com/Thom Tran online. If you want to follow us on the Instagrams, it's at Comedy on 11 Pod. Thanks for listening, and keep turning the laughs up to 11.